All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are live. Welcome to Keyboard Warriors, episode 73. My name is Eddie Law. We got Fred Kirby out of Ohio. We got Jesse Rubacava out of California, back in the LA. By the way, Jesse, congratulations. Now you know what Phoenix feels like on a normal day. So good for you. If you guys don't know, California is like hitting 100+ degrees during the World Series, and that's all they're talking about on TV. It's like, how's the heat going to affect them? Like, they're professional ball players. It probably won't. But it will suck to go watch it.
Catching on fire in California and shit, that's like literally dangerous, right?
Yeah, that's the bad part about California, is that once it gets hot, people, smoking cigarettes, throwing them out because, they like to cruise and everything lights on fire. So that's the bad part about California.
All right, we have a special guest tonight, Combate America's very own Brenda Enriquez. How you doing?
Good, thank you. Thank you for inviting me to the show.
Oh, thanks for coming out. We really, really appreciate it. Now, real quick, I know you train out of Utah, right?
Yes, I do.
What's the name of the gym?
It's Victory MMA.
Oh, okay, yeah. But that's not where you're from originally. Where are you from?
I'm from Chihuahua, Mexico.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, not too far from me. I'm from Guadalajara, so that works out.
Okay.
Yeah. So how'd you end up here in Salt Lake?
Well, actually, I was living in Las Vegas. So I grew up most of my part in Las Vegas, but I was living with my sister, so they had to move to Salt Lake for work. So I followed them. So that's how I ended up here.
Okay, that's a big change from Salt Lake to Vegas, or from Vegas to Salt Lake. That's I mean, come on, that's a huge change. It's just culture-wise, right? Just the kind of people that are there.
Yeah, it is a big change because the weather too. I still don't get used to the weather, the snow, and I hate the snow. So.
Yeah, so it's like you're going from like extreme heat to like really cold. How long you been in Salt Lake?
It's been 10 years already.
Oh, you're used to it. You're good.
No, I'm not used to it. I'm not used to it.
Oh, I hear you. All right, so you debuted at Combate.73 against Cheyenne Farmer, and I know before the show we were talking about it. Like, what's the feeling like to go into your first pro fight, to be the co-main event at Combates, and just have like the spotlight on you as a co-main event?
Actually, like that, I was gonna be more nervous, but actually I was pretty comfortable. Like my amateur fights, I think I was more nervous in my amateur fights, but in this fight I was really confident, and I always get nervous. If I say I don't get nervous, I will be lying. But I was like really confident, like going there.
There you go. Yeah, Jesse, you got anything?
No, I mean, like I was saying before we started, if you guys haven't seen her fight or pretty much that whole event, I mean, that was just a great event. But of course, Brenda's fight with Cheyenne Farmer, like we were saying before, it was definitely one of those fights where it was a war between the two of them, and they definitely put it out there. I know, talking to Campbell afterwards, he was very impressed with both of them. And you guys really put on a show, Brenda. Hopefully you're proud of that. But I was going to ask you, I know you're looking for something really soon here. Have you heard anything yet? I know that they added a couple fights to their upcoming card. Were you approached for that, or nothing yet from Combates?
Well, no, nothing yet. My manager and my coach are waiting for it to see. I hope they have news soon. So I'm just getting ready and trying to train every day to be ready. If they call me, just to be ready, I don't like to get ready when they say, "Oh, you gotta fight." I just like to be ready.
Right, and that's a lot of things they tell you. Everyone tells fighters. If a lot of fighters, they say, "Oh, I'm always ready. I'm always in the gym. I'm always ready." It's like, but you look at me like, "Are you really though?"
Yeah.
It's gotta be even, for fights. How long are your training camps normally? Like, at least for your first fight, how long was your training camp?
Actually, I was like, I didn't have a fight for a year, so. But the thing, I am every day at the gym. So I think I was ready already. We went to camp, but it was like nothing major because I was already ready. The only thing I had to get was my cardio up, but the rest, I think I was good with it.
Yeah. Now, when you go in there and you got your fight, you got your fight announced, you're like, hey, you're fighting on this date, the nerves just start building up on you. But once you're in the cage, because a lot of fighters talk about this, right? Like, the most nervous they are, because you're talking about being nervous, the most nervous they are is the walk to the cage, not actually once they're in, right? Was that the same to you?
Yeah, yeah. Well, actually, when I'm in the back, I get a little like nervous. But that's when I'm walking to the cage, I'm like still nervous, and just when I step inside the cage, I'm even sometimes I'm like, what I'm doing here, and then like, oh, okay, I know now.
Yeah.
But it's a good nervous. It's not like a bad
Yeah.
bad thing.
I can know spoken to fighters. There's a couple. One of my friends. He's a pro, and he's fought in the regional circuit here in the Southwest. And he's always telling me, he's like, yeah, dude, when I'm walking there, it's like, oh, you first start that walk, you're like, yeah, let's go, let's go. How about halfway there, you're like, I could be doing anything else right now. And he goes, that's when the nerves get me. So that's pretty normal there. But real quick, shout out to Uncle Hank's drinking buddy, Raider, and Jeremiah on the YouTube comments. What's up, fellas?
Fellas and ladies.
And ladies,
Eddie.
of course. Forgot Raider. All right.
Female there, Lord.
What, dude? She's a Raiders fan, dude. She's cool.
That doesn't make her a
I know
dude.
she's not a dude. Okay, all right, cool. All right, I got you. Anyway, so what are you looking for as far as like, everyone talks about, what's your 5-year plan? I mean, do you have a 5-year plan as far as your combat, career goes, and what's your main goal on it?
Well, yes, I just want to see what it brings. I don't like to plan the future. Just goes whatever it comes. So, but my main goal is like to guess more fights I can get, combat, and from there we'll see what will come, what will happen. So,
I do have a question. I was looking over your amateur record, and the only loss you have is against someone that was at 125. And I see pretty much everywhere else 105 and 115. You're perfect in those divisions. So is that something that you kind of got last minute at a higher weight division, or is it something you were testing out to see how you felt?
well, actually, we fought at 115, but I think she was walking. She walks heavier, and I was walking really light to drop to 115. That's
Hmm.
Emily Whitmer, and she was really good, but she finished me on the first round. It was in Vegas, so it was a tough experience for me because I lost, but it makes me open my eyes, and like if I really want to be there and to drop to 105 because the 115 division was getting really heavier for me. But yeah, that's my only loss I had, so it was a
Right.
tough opponent.
Yeah, it was that tough enough. I saw. It's one of those companies that a lot of people kind of get their start from there. And I was looking at it and I said 125 because that's what they labeled it as apparently. So
Oh, really?
that's all.
Oh,
Like I
yeah.
was wondering if it was a last minute, one of those last minute fights for you. But so moving forward, you're looking more at atom weight moving forward here from now on.
Yeah. Just gonna stay Adam way, and that's gonna be my fighting way.
All right, Joey Tremendous has a question. He says, "What martial art got you started in MMA? So, like, what did you first train at, and then you started, you switched over to mixed martial arts?"
I was kind of curious
Okay.
about that too. Like, how did you get into mixed martial arts in general?
Well, it was actually we always like boxing in my family, so
Imagine that.
Mexican.
Yeah.
Well, most of the Mexicans, I think we all love boxing. So it was actually me and my brother. We were looking for gyms to start doing boxing. I saw the MMA fights before, but I was like, more on the boxing thing. So we went to this gym, but they do everything. We went to Hidden Valley and they do boxing, jiu-jitsu, MMA. So when I got there, I would start training and they got me training MMA, not boxing. But I'm like, okay, I like it. I never did any wrestling or anything before school. I did, I won't say street fights. I was just kind of like defending my little brother.
And
Maybe
that
you
was in
call it street
Vegas.
fights. It was in Vegas the most of the time, in some part in Mexico. So, but that's how we started. Like from there, from that gym, they told me they have a MMA fight in 6 months of training, and I'm like, I look at my brother, and he's like, well, take it, and I'm like, okay, let's see, let's try it, and I try it, and I won, and I like it, so I keep going.
There you go.
Yeah, hey, winning's always fun. Man. You can't beat the feeling of winning. I tell you that much.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, but as far as so what's your favorite thing? Because I know you can go in a jiu-jitsu class, you can go to Muay Thai, you can go to wrestling. What class do you go to the most?
Uh, think it will be Muay Thai. That's where I'm going a lot too. But we always do like an hour of like mix, like wrestling with MMA, and then it's another 1 hour, I guess, completely of Muay Thai. So I just enjoy going up to both of them.
Yeah, because I noticed in your fight, the kicks were flowing pretty good, and they look good. And you always get that satisfying snap when you hit your opponent's leg. It's just like pop. And not only do you hear it, if it's loud, if you get it real right, if you hit it correctly, the entire arena hears it. And it was echoing. So that was actually pretty cool to see. I'm a big fan of Muay Thai, so I enjoy watching that aspect of the game.
Thank
So
you.
yeah, so definitely was a lot of fun. So what's it like to work with Campbell McLaren?
It's good. Yeah, they are really nice persons. I don't get too much contact with them. The one that it's my manager, or like talking to them, but it is really interesting. It's really nice promotion and everything. So they really take care of their fighters. So I really like it.
Yeah, and I know they have a Copa Combate coming up. It's like is it 8 man, right, Jesse? 8 man?
Yeah, eight
Yeah, I think
man,
it is.
one night. I was looking over the rules, so they're basically doing for the first 2 rounds amateur, where it's 3 3 minute rounds, and then it's the final is the 3 5 minute rounds. So
Damn, yo,
should be interesting.
so somebody's gonna fight 3 times to win.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so. I think
Yeah,
so.
I
It is
believe
how
so.
it is.
Yo, where's this fight taking place at?
Mexico,
Yeah.
Cancun.
Yeah, south of the border. You can't pull that shit in America, man.
Yeah, dude, you gotta. Hey, and look, Rashad Evans had to go to Mexico to get a license. All right, no one up here will do it. So you had to go down there. So sometimes you gotta pull strings to get your stuff done. All right, and they're excited. They're super excited about this tournament.
That's for 100 stacks, though, right? The winner gets 100
Yeah.
grand.
Yeah.
It is.
Hell yeah, that'll entice you to come in and scrap.
Shoot, man, that's good money for that.
Come on, Eddie, what are you doing? You've been taking BJJ. Get your ass down there. It's 100 G's.
Oh well,
I'm 210 pounds, dog. That's like a bantamweight friggin' tournament, isn't it?
You do need to lose a little weight.
I'm sick. What can I say?
no burritos, no tacos for a couple weeks. You'll be fine, Eddie. You know what though? I was reading King of the Cage is having an amateur tournament coming up, I think on December 9th for 250,000, I think, grand prize. So I think they were shouting out for amateurs to come and try out. They were looking for spots to fill. Eddie.
I'm already Googling it, so hang on a second. Anyway, now, but all right. So as far as like for example, like in this fight, because I know it's like there was a lot of clinch work, right? You fought real well to get your underhooks, and you were able to switch a position. It was kind of going back and forth. Are you trying to use your wrestling a little more in your fights?
Yeah, it just depends where it takes place. Like she didn't try to take me down, and I bet most of the people think I'm a boxer because I stand there and bang.
Yeah.
But I know how to go to the ground, and most of my amateur fights I finished them with submissions. That was my wins, most of them. So, but the fight didn't take place to the ground, and I didn't shoot. I didn't shoot. I didn't even try. I didn't even think to take her down. It was. I like to stand up and bang. So it's.
Yeah,
unless you take me to the ground, I defend it. Yeah, but
you have to take some comfort in knowing. I was looking at her Instagram page today. She still had a bruise on her leg a couple days after the fight where he tore up her leg. So some of those kicks were pretty good. I mean, like I said, I was there live, and I mean the crowd was. I don't know if you could hear the crowd. I know a lot of fighters say they can't hear pretty much anything except their corner, and that's about it. But that crowd was really, really lively for your guys' fight. It really woke up the crowd there.
Oh yeah, no, I can hear her every time I fight. Like I cannot hear the people cheering, but I can hear her coach and my coach screaming. So I can.
You know what?
So I can know.
I always wondered that about the opposing coach. Like when you hear the opposing coach saying what to do, like you hear that shit, right? I can hear you telling her what to do. You can't play on that.
Yeah,
like,
I actually.
Go fucking left. That's a good idea. Do that.
I actually went to them after the fight, and I can hear everything you were saying to her.
Perfect.
And they're like, "What happened?" I'm like, "Yeah," because I think they scream at her I think they say you got her or something like that. And I look at it and I'm like, no, I went like, no, she didn't got me. Like, I'm like, no. But I was hearing everything what they were saying to her. Like, it happens.
Yeah.
It happens.
That's what you got to hand it to the Brazilians, man. They're yelling in Portuguese. Like, it's not everyone knows. So you probably get away with some stuff.
I was gonna say, doesn't like Greg Jackson use codes like some baseball shit, Blue 32 or something? Like some coach be doing shit like that.
Man, Greg Jackson be telling his fighters like, think about the waterfall in the freaking corner, and then Cowboy goes on. And he tells him, give him 5 minutes of hell, son. So Greg Jackson's like super like fluid with that. He's crazy.
Does whatever he's doing.
Yeah. Jesse?
No. That was it for me. I mean, oh, you know what though? My other little question was gonna be, your nickname, Little Hands of Stone. Is that something you got because you were knocking people out at the gym, or is that just kind of like from your street fights? Where does that come from?
To be honest, I don't know. My one of my coach, he's the one who put that name on it. He's one day he's like, Little Hands of Stone, and I'm like, okay, like why is that? He's like, I don't know. You remind me of this fighter because I didn't even know who was it until he told me. I'm like, okay, so that name just go from there, Little Hands of Stone. But in the other gym, they just call me. Some of them they say a pit bull. you remind me like a pit bull. When you get angry, you just go for the attack. So they call me different. So I just go with whatever they want to call me.
We'll go with the Little Hands of Stone. There's way too many pit bulls in MMA right now. There's like 37 pit bulls.
Yeah, I'm like.
I like Little Hands of Stone way better. The Roberto Duran homage right there. And that means a lot. That means you could throw some heat. So that's pretty good. All right. So I guess to wrap it all up real nice and put a little bow on it. As far as your fight weight and combates and whatnot, and especially since you're looking for something pretty soon here, and you like to stay at atom weight, are you open to like like any other promotion, or do you like combates and the way they work enough to like stick around for a long time?
Well, right now I like combate how they working and everything, but you never know. I'm always open for options. But like I said, right now I'm good with combate what they throw in there. But like I have an open mind, so it's whatever. You never know what other options you're gonna have there.
But like, isn't there only basically one other option for like that's above combates would be Invicta, right? That has an atom weight division.
Like, yeah.
There's really because the UFC ain't got an atom weight yet, so it's kind of Invicta, or just you'd be better off just staying put where you at.
Yeah. Right now I'm great where I am in combate, and like you say, the other good promotion there is Invicta. So there's only two there. So and in UFC haven't opened a division yet until they open. I bet a lot of fighters will want to go and try to do the tryouts, right?
Yeah, and I know Michelle Watterson was at atom weight, and then she moved to strawweight because obviously UFC don't have a 105. So
to be honest with you, I think it's a lot more talent at atom weight than it is at featherweight. I mean, I know Cyborg's a star and all, but who got the Cyborg and that whole damn division, they should drop 45 and add atom weight because I think the division overall has a lot more talent in it.
Yeah, I think we need a division there. So because like you say, there are a lot of 105 fighters growing. A lot of girls are really talented too. So
it should be a rich female division, right? Atom weight 105, a lot of females probably that's like the 170 for women. Right? Like you would think it's got weight division wise, there's probably a lot of females hovering at that weight. It ain't a whole lot of broads walking around looking like Cyborg.
All right, real quick, just a few comments here on the YouTube. John Smith says, well, he asked what weight class you were, and everyone's telling him in the comments, atom weight. He goes, more like gorgeous weight. So there you go.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. And then Raider says, Little Hands of Stone is cool as hell. See, great nickname. That's baller.
Okay, so we stay with Little Hands of Stone then.
Yeah. That's a good one. All right. Where can people go find you on social media? Like, just to follow you and see what you're up to.
Well, I have Instagram. They can go as Little Hands of Stone, and they find me like that. And on Twitter, it will be Face Your Fears, I think. And on Facebook, it will be the same, Little Hands of Stone. So.
All right, cool. You guys make sure you follow her on all the social media. Follow her on all the things. And the floor is yours. Any shout outs you want to throw out there before we wrap it up?
Well, I just want to say thank you to my teams and my gyms, Victor MMA, my manager, John Valentine's, that make all this possible, and especially to combat this for letting me fight with them, and all my sponsors, that it's a Damage Plan and backed up the pre-workouts, and especially you guys for letting me be on your show today.
Thank you for coming on. We really appreciate it. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Brenda Enriquez from Combate Americas. If you haven't seen her fight, make sure you look that up. It was fire. Believe that. All right. Thank you so much. You have a wonderful night.
Thank you. Thank you. Nice talking to you guys, to everyone.
Likewise. Good night.
All right. Have a good night.
Bye.
Have a lovely night.
Thank you. Good night. Thank you.
Cool. All right. So that was Brenda Enriquez from Combate Americas. Again, if you guys haven't seen that fight, it was fire. Right? Especially with all you guys that go, oh, you stand and bang and all that stuff. They stood, all right, the entire time. So you go watch that, all right? Search that up. All right. So on with the rest of the show here. Real quick, let's touch on. I don't think we talked about UFC Poland or Don. How do you say that shit? Anyone know?
Man, who gives a shit?
Europeans get touchy when you can't pronounce their names and shit.
We'll be all right.
Anyway, we got Dan. What up?
I thought Ashley gave you the pronunciation a couple times there.
He did. I forgot it. So anyway, main event. Darren motherfucking Till though. God damn. Okay, now Fred, was it Darren motherfucking Till or oh shit, Cowboys done? Which one was it for you?
A little bit of both. I wouldn't say Cowboys done. I'll tell you what I will fucking say is Darren Till looked like he was 6 weight classes above fucking Cowboy. Now I don't know whether Darren Till is just an extremely large welterweight or whether Cowboy needs to shimmy on back down to lightweight. But immediately, and I don't mean just height, I mean his motherfucking back looked wide. He just looked very big next to Cowboy immediately. Even when they kind of tied up on the ground for a brief moment, Homeboy just looked huge compared to Cowboy. And I mean, listen, man, Darren Till's a self-proclaimed amazing striker. It is kind of what it is. I don't think too much in either way. I wouldn't go putting the fork in Cowboy, and I wouldn't go anointing fucking Darren Till the next Conor McGregor. He looks very good. Cowboy looked a bit like shit, but we've seen Cowboy look like shit before. Props to Cowboy for even taking that cocksucking fight. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah, I don't know. Darren Till looked real. I would give more credit to Till than I would take away from Cowboy. I just think Cowboy ain't really a natural welterweight anyways. I mean, he had a couple big wins there, but that don't mean he necessarily belongs there. I think this fight might have been a little reminder of that, you know?
Going off of what you just said, Fred, is this the perfect case for adding a middle in between 155 and 170? Is this like a perfect case for advocating for a 165 and a 175 weight class so we could have those in-betweeners like Cowboy, like Dos Anjos, like a bunch of those guys that aren't really 70ers but are almost killing themselves to get down to 155?
No, Ariel Hawani, we don't. I'm sorry, but no.
Whoa.
Listen, I don't think it's debatable how bad Cowboy was killing himself to get down to 55. Cowboy likes to drink Budweisers. To the best of my knowledge, that's not great for your weight, Cowboy. Sorry. I know fucking ski-doing and drinking Budweisers and banging little white broads makes you happy, but sometimes you don't always get what you want. Your career, you have to forego the fucking cheesecake and the Budweisers and make 55. I never seen Cowboy on the scale looking that fucking bad. Now, and if not, I mean, I don't know. I don't know what to tell you. Fucking Anthony Johnson made it work. He went up like 9 weight classes and almost got the belt.
I don't know. I think there's tiers to each weight class, right? Like Cowboy can take anybody in the lower tier 170ers. That's cool. Once you get up to the higher guys, I mean, can you imagine Cowboy against Anthony Johnson if he can make 170? I mean, like, or back when he did make 170, like twice or whatever it was, it'd be kind of a real fight for Cowboy.
Yeah, man. I mean, don't get me wrong. The size difference is a real thing, but then look at Robert Whittaker at 85.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So, I mean, maybe Cowboy is getting a little long in the tooth. It was Poland too, if we're just throwing excuses at Cowboy here.
No, you know what? When I saw Cowboy in that fight, I think a couple people noticed it as well. He definitely looked like a lot older of a Cowboy. You know, he wasn't that you know, that young, spry cowboy that we're used to seeing. He just seemed like he aged out of nowhere. But I think you're right. I think you definitely have to give it up to Darren Till, who came out there and just put a beating on Cowboy. I mean, like didn't really back away from Cowboy, really wasn't afraid of what Cowboy had to offer, right? And we've all heard the things about how Cowboy is a very mental guy, where if things aren't going his way, he kind of folds up shop and, you know, wants to go home. So, you know, if he faces a guy with the confidence of Darren Till, it seems like that's always like his kryptonite, you know, a guy that's confident, not afraid of what Cowboy can do, and is just going to walk him down and, you know, bring the fight to him. So I don't know, man. I agree with Fred, though. I think it's a little bit of both, you know. And I kind of agree with Fred, too. Cowboy had some of his best fights and performances at 155. You know, it's kind of like the Kelvin Gastelum thing, right? I mean, Eddie, you know, you just lay off the burritos every once in a while and you can make the weight.
Right.
You know?
Right. I mean, Kelvin will do all right at 85, but if he really wants to get that belt, he needs to be at 70. He just has to show the discipline and get down there. I mean, that's where he needs to be. What the fuck?
And it really is all discipline, man. I can tell you that shit right now.
Listen,
it's literally a discipline issue.
I'm not saying I could do it. Don't get me wrong. I'm also not trying to be a professional fighter. True. So I'm sorry, but I can say this bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Like, I can't help. That's their motherfucking job. We've all got our jobs to do. Everybody wakes up and goes and does shit they don't want to do. Part of their job is fucking foregoing that shit and making the weight. That's a big part of their job.
And that's the thing. That's the thing you just said there, Fred. I'm sure if I paid you what they pay Cowboy, what they pay Kelvin, what they pay any of those, you know, high-powered guys, you would make the weight. It's all about having that ability to just push through those days. I mean, you can ask any guy that has to cut weight, a wrestler, you know, an Olympic guy, any of those guys, cutting weight, making weight sucks. It's even for Eddie over here, our buddy Eddie, it's same day weigh-ins for him. It's not, hey, I get to, you know, dick around the next day for the next 12 hours and, you know, make weight. Then, you know, I can relax. No, it's like you got to be on your best, make weight and compete. So, I mean, it's just excuses that you can't make weight.
And listen, at the end of the day, if you ain't chasing no belt, fuck it. Cowboy's got a big enough name. If all he wants to do is get paid and fight, they'll come up for fights with him at 70. You know, he'll be a bit outweighed here and there, but like if you're not really trying to get every advantage you can, then fuck it. Eat what you want, do what you want. You'll take an L here or there, but you got a big enough name that you're gonna get paid regardless. So at the end of the day, truthfully, fuck them, fuck us, fuck everybody. You know what I'm saying? Like that fool probably knows he ain't gonna get a belt anyway. So book yourself in entertaining fights, fuck the weight cut, and do the damn thing. Darren Till, on the other hand, now, you know, he's a prospect. He's an official fucking blue chip prospect at this point. Especially
with the name, the victory over Cowboy. The name is huge. The name is huge. So, meanwhile, he's a big dude. And shout out to Liam. What's up, man? John Smith says Cowboy didn't come out looking ready. He never does. I mean, he starts off slow almost every single fight. Yeah,
that was a talking point coming into the fight too. Is that Cowboy starts off a little slow, and Darren Till usually starts off a little quick, and he's a big striker, and it looked like that's what happened in this one. So,
yeah, what's funny is that during the fight, I'm always on Twitter especially during fights, but there was a lot of talk like this guy moves like Conor McGregor, and it was just like shit with that, but.
A little bit. I've seen it though.
Yeah, exactly. No,
just that kind of wide stance and the way he was bobbing. Like I've seen it. I kind of thought that of me. Not quite like Conor, but to the naked eye, it had that look.
Right. I didn't think about it until I saw his tweets, and I was like, okay, a little bit. Not completely.
The way he was kind of snapping his punches and striking was a bit like Conor-esque and shit. Yeah. I mean, what was really Conor-esque was Cowboy's reaction. Yeah. He was just kind of looked like he was like, Matt, and Cowboy was fucking getting hurt by those. That's what kind of felt like Conor. A lot of times Conor doesn't look like he's like throwing a softball. He kind of looks like he's just popping them in there, and all of a sudden Eddie Alvarez is fucking doing a nosedive.
Yeah. So now they're Darren Till end of the fight, and Darren Till calls out Mike Perry. Mike Perry hilariously jumps on the cage. He starts fucking barking at him. They both go face to face. Dan Hart did the right thing, putting the microphone in between him. Like, all right, fuck it. There you go. You know, I mean, that's great promotion for that fight. But Perry's fighting the number 9 guy, Ponzinibbio. So he's got to beat him. If he loses to him, they're not giving him the Darren Till fight. Darren Till is number 8 now, I think. 8 ranked or something like that. He skyrocketed from wherever the fuck he was.
Listen, whatever. Fuck it. Ponzinibbio wins. Ponzinibbio gets the fight.
And that's a fucking good fight, too. I don't give a fuck what anyone.
That's what I'm saying. So it kind of works either way. Fuck it. Give him the winner of that fight. Hopefully Perry wins because that's a sexier fight. But at the end of the day, if Ponzinibbio comes in and thunder strikes Mike Perry, I'll fuck that fight too. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, the funny thing is, I don't know. I thinking about a Darren Till Mike Perry fight, to me, I mean, Darren Till's going to fuck him up.
Oh, that's sexy, though. That's
fuck yeah. You want to see it? I want to see it.
Fight.
Yeah, I want to see the fight, but
for sure,
it's a fucking trip, man. All right, and then the co-main event, Karolina Kowalkiewicz dominates Jodie Esquibel, and that was a setup fight to me to prepare her for a rematch with Joanna or whatever. So yeah,
the best thing about that fight is fucking Karolina's cute little fucking stand up against the cage before she fights. I love how she stands there like a fucking like fucking Chung Li from Street Fighter and posted up like she's waiting on an ice cream or some shit.
Is it me or is Jodie Esquibel just kind of too late to the party? Because I mean, when back in the day in Invicta, she was kind of a dominant force back then, and to me, it just kind of feels like it's kind of past her prime now.
Yeah, for
it's
sure.
time to go out to pass her, right?
And I was thinking about that, and she has been around for a long time. Everyone's always talking about. Everyone knows Jodie Esquibel. Everybody knows her, right? They knows women's MMA, right? Especially if they know the small promotions and Invicta and all that. And so, she finally gets her shot in the UFC, and they give her like a high-ranked fighter that's a taller, longer, and everything. So, Jodie Esquibel late to the party. I'd say, yeah. Unfortunately,
but to me, it's almost the same thing as Jessica Aguilar, right? A girl that was, or a woman that was pretty much thought of as the pound for pound best at that weight class, and then she got into the UFC and hasn't really done anything. I mean, she just kind of is middle of the road, maybe, if that, right? I mean, are we just getting these stars too late at this point?
I think because Jodie was around at the start of women's MMA, it took this long. It took forever to get a 115 division in the UFC and a 125 division, right? I just think that's what happened. I think it just took too long, and there's more talented younger ladies in there now. So it's kind of oh Jesus Christ. Sorry, Jeremiah just goes, Karolina and that little kitty laughed my ass off. Fred knows what I'm talking about.
Yep.
That's what I'm saying. Liam says I was not impressed with her lack of a finish. I don't think she really went for it. Like, I don't know, Fred. You tell me. You think she went for a finish? Because it didn't look like it to me.
No. Fuck. I think she was content winning the decision, man. A lot like Johanna Jędrzejczyk has been as of late.
And
mad.
Yeah.
And how many people finished Jodie Esquibel? Even at this point,
right?
I mean,
she's tough as hell.
Yeah.
She'll
stick around for a while.
Let me see anything else we want to talk about on here. Just because everyone fucking talking about it. Artem Lobov loses to Andre Fili, and the only thing people can talk about is Conor McGregor.
Listen. Piss on that, okay? Artem Lobov, you're done. You're low hanging fruit. I know you're a fun fighter, but come on, it's enough with you for sure. Touchy Fili. Good job, kid. The biggest thing about this fight was that Conor called you a faggot, so that's cute. Have fun with that little headline.
No, and that's literally the only thing people are talking about on that fight. Almost on this entire card, the thing people are still talking about besides Darren Till is that.
Listen. Piss on that fight. I want to ask you guys a bigger fucking better question about this card before we get off of this fucking card. Yeah. Did you guys hear about the situation with the fucking soccer hooligans and the Anthony Hamilton and that fucking weird Russian cat's name?
They had to cancel
Polish. He was Polish, I guess. Yeah. So basically, for short, 80 to 100 Polacks mob into this building and essentially get word up to the UFC that if they let this other fucking Polish prick come out, they're going to mob the fucking stage and cause the scene. Now, not only does the UFC not let this prick make the walk, they cancel the whole fight. Okay. A, what the fuck is going on? B, how do they do shit in Poland? I mean, think about it. Can you imagine if that happened in America? 80 shitbirds walk in like, check it out, Jack. If that motherfucker comes out, we're going to storm the stage. Las Vegas Police Department will be like, that's cute. That's real cute. You fucking get out of your chair, we'll shoot everybody. Everybody.
I will shoot everybody. Fuck you all. No.
They're not playing at all.
Yeah.
Not bullshitting at all. What the fuck? Like
that'd be like what?
How does how does something like this happen? Like, why did the UFC cancel the fight? Like, what like
safety concerns? That's literally
you're not a soccer fan, are you, Fred?
Man, what in the fuck does that got to do with anything? Soccer?
No,
what is it? Is it that real that like they could?
Yeah.
Yeah, shut this whole motherfucker down. See me,
dude. No. It's not that, Fred. It's that you literally have a mob of 80 dudes, basically with the same mentality of I'm just gonna punch everybody in front of me and keep moving forward until I get killed. So you've got 80 dudes that are just gonna start swinging for the fences, moving forward, and just causing a riot. Which is why at soccer stadiums they have big hoses that hose down whole sections of an arena, because these dudes start mobbing and fighting, and they literally have to like wash them out. Like it's ridiculous. These guys.
This is the one time where I'm going to like take up for the police departments in America. You try that shit in Dayton, baby. I bet you don't. Let's see it. Let's see how many of y'all got the heart to stand behind your soccer team, because the Dayton police will mow y'all down.
That'd be done.
One by one. And I'll bet you some people start taking them colors off real quick. Do I know soccer? I'll bet you start shooting fools and motherfuckers start turning on their team real fast. Like, oh shit, they shooting fools. God damn, they just shot motherfucking Akbar and fucking Timmy.
Yeah, no, fucking imagine like an MMA fight in the middle, like during halftime of a Raiders-Niners game, where the fighters are one's like a Raider fan, one's a Niner fan. I wonder if anything even come close to what could happen in a place like Poland. You know what I mean? Like it'd be a fucking nutty fucking scene to see here in the U.S. But you're right. Cops ain't fucking around here. They're like, yeah, you're not doing that shit here.
All bullshit aside, I did find it a little weird that they actually canceled the fight, that they couldn't have security just handle some fucking hooligans.
Right. Here's the other thing too is they have this is where it's a problem that they don't have like actually Jesse, do they have a specific, does UFC have a specific like European like Dana White kind of guy?
Mm-hmm. No, they fired that, or that guy quit, I believe.
They still got the spot available though, right? Somebody's in charge of that shit.
It should be. Someone should be charged. Well, here's the thing, because those guys would do, if someone was, you had a European Dana White, that guy's gonna do the research and be like, yeah, let's not book that fight here. Crazy shit happens in Europe with stuff like that. So you would think that would be a thing. All right, on the YouTube comments real quick.
I feel so American right now. I feel like I just wouldn't take that, Jack.
I know.
Y'all gonna rob the stage. Somebody get the goddamn guns out here. I bet you come up here and weigh in, goddamn it. Fuck y'all.
All right.
But you know what? Over in Dayton, it's the crowd that would have the guns. I don't think they'd even wait for the police, right?
Yeah, fuck that.
Right.
Hey, coming to Arizona with that bullshit where it's a concealed carry without a permit. Good luck with that. All right. All right, real quick on the YouTube comments, our boy Jeremiah says Artem loses more than wins. What the fuck? If it wasn't for Conor, he wouldn't even be in the UFC. I have to agree with that. And then Raider says, yeah, that shit in Poland was nuts. The people fucking ruled there apparently. And John Smith, Liam goes, you mean like lots of armed dudes show up at protests? I'll take Polish unarmed hooligans any day. Yeah, well, yeah. And then John Smith with a good question. Did you see MVP from Bellator the boxing match? Do you see that shit? You see the way he was moving?
Yeah.
First of all, to clear it up, his opponent was shit. He's like a 1-11 guy. Okay, so that was just a showcase fight for Paige.
Yeah, which is pretty much the tale of his whole fucking career.
Hands everywhere.
Yeah, I mean, listen, man, I've been an MVP fan for a long time. We had him on Stand and Bang like 2 years ago. He was a super nice dude. Really fun interview, really cool guy, but goddamn it, the jig is up, baby. Buddy, I've heard of before. I mean, I don't give a fuck. Do it in the boxing ring. I don't give a shit if you go grapple somebody I've heard of, but for Christ's sakes, compete against a name of some fucking caliber somewhere. I mean, yeah, you seen that boxing match. Did you see what he did to him? He fucking hit him with a Power Ranger move. and then fucking did a Michael Jackson over the rope, and the fucking referee. Yeah. It looked like something out of the fucking WWF, man. I mean, I love MVP, but Jesus fucking Christ, come on.
Yeah, John on here was like, he did the Drunken Master. Fucking right.
Yeah, I swear he did. Which was cute. Which was cute, but goddamn, man. You know, come on, man. Fuck.
I don't know. It's I watched the fight on YouTube and I was like, okay. Like you could tell the other cat had no business being in there with MVP. So it was kind of annoying to watch.
Speaking of Bellator, was this the worst weekend for Bellator with their prospects kind of getting killed and then that main event not really living up to what it was supposed to be?
Well, here's the thing. I keep hearing that because, again, Bellator, you motherfuckers, you can't do some shit live when it's like legitimately live. You have to do it 4 hours fucking later. Thanks a lot. So I didn't watch it, and I normally don't unless they do it live or I can find a stream, which I rarely look at depending on who's fighting. But I did hear I read all the tweets. I heard all the talk about it. Oh, it was a fucking awful show for Bellator. So, of course, I had to go watch it. So I went and watched it. Holy shit, it was bad. Like, I'm not surprised. They did like 400,000, the ratings, like 400,000 people watching. Is that the number?
Those were almost Musasi fans.
And I like Gegard, but he lost that fight. I don't give a fuck what anyone says. They awarded him that W. He took that W in the eye. But credit to fucking Gegard. I heard that bullshit he said about, you can all suck my dick or whatever it was. It was pretty funny. I got to give him that credit. That's pretty good.
It's very long. You can all suck it. Get the line.
God, you know what? Gegard is one of those dudes like you don't expect him to say funny shit, and then he says something like that. You're like, motherfucker. I want to hate you, but I can't.
Listen.
Isn't those quiet guys the ones you got to worry about? Like, isn't Brendan Schaub the one that said that Rory McDonald came up with he's got to dick him down? He's the one that where he got that from.
Yeah, that's creepy sounding coming from Rory.
Yeah, mind you, I don't know, it was bad. So Gegard wins his fight, and that was not a fun fight at all. The other one was Heather Hardy getting beat down by an 0-0.
Well, alrighty then.
The connection went dead. What he was saying, Fred? Did you watch Bellator at all, Fred, or did you miss it?
Well, I seen those fights. I caught the Heather Hardy shit. What do you think about that? Because we're all led to believe that Heather Hardy is like the best boxer in. She's got a great record in women's boxing, and she comes over and she gets lit up by an amateur, basically. Listen, can we all just fucking stop with the boxing MMA? It's not the same, man. It's not the same. Kickboxers, fucking wrestlers, hell, even the rare BJJ guy can make that crossover, and kind of it matters a little bit. It just kind of doesn't, man. Like, it doesn't translate. Boxing for MMA is not the same as boxing for fucking boxing. Now, listen, if you box professionally, you can't hold that against you. You know what I'm saying? Clearly, it's a tool. You know how to box. But it does not mean that you're going to be able to carry many of those same talents into the cage. It is a whole different world. With kickboxing, it's slightly different. The angles are kind of similar to MMA because you're using all those limbs. With boxing, it's completely fucking different, man. It's night and day. So I think we need to be a little bit more cognizant of these boxers making the transition and putting these wild. It's the same as Conor boxing Floyd, man. Boxing anybody of that caliber professionally is never going to end well. It's not the fucking same thing at all. Conor can throw his hands a little, but he's not a fucking boxer. Right? Boxer, but that doesn't mean that she's going to be some vicious striker in MMA. You've seen. Yeah. Some broad with an 0-0 record fucking thunder kicked her right in the nose. And what happened? She's fucking bending over, doing some shit that in boxing, she probably would have bobbed and weaved and got away with perfectly. In MMA, you get fucking kicked in the face pulling that little stunt.
Yeah, looking like Rory McDonald and shit after that fight, which is sad to see, by the way. That was sad.
Listen, I'll give her this. She's fucking tougher than
as fuck. Tough as fuck. Yeah, fucking, what was the question? Oh, does Raider have women's heavyweight? Gabby Garcia. Yes. Gabby Garcia will fight grandmothers. Okay.
I swear to God, isn't the fact that Cyborg is even friends with Gabby Garcia like reason enough to test her constantly? I'm being serious. Like,
no, I know.
Those two broads, you see those two broads riding a car together in Japan or Brazil. It's like we both y'all got the piss in this cup right now.
Can you imagine them in like both of those girls in like a fucking like Prius like this? Like it would look comical, right? Like they're both hunched like this because their shoulders are fucking like right on each other in the middle of the car. Yeah. Anyway, but Gabby Garcia. That's all we got to say about that. Raider says Royd buddies at the salon. God damn, that's like the best way to fucking put it.
You ain't lying.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. So that Bellator thing. I mean, look, if I'm not saying it's gonna put a stop to the people saying, "Oh, Bellator's catching up to UFC," but they got a way to go.
Quick question, guys. Okay, so Mousasi comes over, basically looks like shit, doesn't do exactly what he wanted to do. A lot of people were saying going into this fight that Mousasi needed to do something good because a lot of the UFC signings that Bellator's got has kind of been flops. Ben Henderson, fucking Roy Nelson. I mean, the list goes on and on with the guys that came over that you thought was going to do big things and they kind of fizzled out. Now, a lot of people look at that and say, Bellator guys can compete with the UFC guys because these UFC guys come over and they either lose or they barely win to these guys. And I mean, fuck, Mousasi just barely beat a guy that wasn't even the champion in Bellator. Which way do you look at it? Do you look at it like that? Do you look at it in the way that you think that these Bellator guys can actually compete? Because I tell you what, man, I've been thinking about this a lot lately, and I almost start to feel like the UFC kind of knows what they're doing. And they know how to fucking hedge their bets with these guys. I mean, maybe they're just getting lucky, and maybe Benson just happened to unluckily lose, and Roy just happened to. But it feels like maybe Sean Shelby and Dana White and these cats just kind of know what they're doing after decades of doing this. And they're like, hey, Gegard, that, bruh. You're at the tail end of your shit. You're a little long in the tooth. Same thing with you, fat boy. Like, you ain't, and then they go over. The proof is in the pudding, right?
Now, and Liam just basically took my point before I could say it. Liam says Bendo was on the downside before he left the UFC. Same for many fighters. I have to agree with that. Benson was already on his way out. But the biggest problem with Benson was 170. That's another guy that does not need to be fighting at 170. Okay.
True.
But I don't know. And I was thinking about this because in other sports, for example, especially in football, American football, guys bust their ass. You get ridiculous seasons from guys on their rookie contracts. Some of these guys get paid, get their payday, and all of a sudden their performances tank. Could it be because could it fucking Bellator's supposed to be paying these guys more money, right? Could it be because they're getting more money that they're not performing very well anymore? I wonder if that's a thing.
But okay, so it could be, but you also have to take into consideration that these guys are supposed to be making more money off of sponsorship deals, off of all this other thing. And according to what Gegard recently said, he's not making that much money.
No,
he's not cashing those big checks, from sponsorships like he used to. So I really think that Fred is onto a point, and I really thought that from the beginning. Maybe the UFC really does know that these guys are past their prime. I mean, they let go of Frank Mir, they let go of Lorenz Larkin, they let go of guys that we as fans, kind of thought that they still had something. But I don't know, maybe they see something we don't. Maybe they look at something different, they're looking at things differently. Because I mean, I would have paid to keep Benson Henderson in the UFC, yet his track record at Bellator really contradicts what I'm thinking, and Gegard over here, his performance was crap. I mean, the only guy that has done exactly what he said he was going to do, sadly, is Ryan Bader.
Mm-hmm.
He's the champ over there at Bellator, right? He's the only guy that went to Bellator and did what he said he was going to do in a very boring fashion, very Ryan Bader-esque, but he's the only one that really conquered what he said he was going to do, So, I mean, I think Fred has the point right there that maybe the UFC really honestly does know what they're doing.
It's possible. I mean, look, look, they're not at the top for no reason. Let's be honest, all right? By the way, just another quick point, because now it reminds me of this. The sponsor thing reminds me of this. when the UFC signed that Reebok deal, everyone was like, "Oh, all these sponsors are gonna flood over to Bellator." Is it just me, or did they not do that?
No, of course they're not. The Bellator's not the UFC, man. It's not the same thing. It's not the same exposure. Those sponsors aren't fucking stupid. It's not like it's like, oh, Bellator is going to pull the same numbers that the UFC pulls. That's how sponsorship works, man. Same thing with Mousasi. Listen, Mousasi, you might not be getting a lot of sponsors. Your goddamn performances aren't where they need to be. God damn it. Sometimes you got to call a spade a spade. Fuck, listen, nobody was sadder than me. After that performance, I wanted Gegard to do good. I'm an old school Gegard fan. I thought he was going to beat the fuck out of the little fucking Russian spin machine. So color me fucking disappointed when his eye swells up and he fucking, doesn't look that great. I was like, not really arguing, but going back and forth with somebody on Twitter. They was like, well, he fought valiantly with a closed eye. A closed eye that he let get closed by homeboy's fist. I mean, it ain't like he came in with a fucking case of the goddamn chicken pox. He got punched in the face. That's why his eye was closed. I mean, yeah, it's not easy to fight with one eye, but that's why you don't get fucking thunderstruck in it. What the fuck?
No, I hear you, man. All right, let's move on a little bit here. Real quick on the talk of. Okay, well, Joe Rogan is the bag cat of the bag, but now the rumors everywhere. Okay, and it seems like it might be true. The GSP Bisping fight is not selling. UFC 217 is not selling the way they thought it would. Now, here's the thing: is it that there's no interest? There's way less interest in GSP returning than in fighting Bisping for 185 title than the UFC thought, or is the UFC pricing out people buying tickets to that Madison Square Garden fight?
I think it's got a little bit more to do with the fact that GSP just ain't quite the draw that he once was. How long's it been, man?
4 years, I think.
Bro, that's a long fucking time, man. I mean, listen, Joey Tremendez, a fan of this show. Homeboy started watching MMA like what? 9 months ago, 6 months ago, a year ago, something like that. George had been gone for 3 fucking years at that point. Now, maybe he's went back and rewatched his fights and acquainted himself with George's boring ass career. You'd have to go way back in George's career to have something exciting to watch. But they do exist, for the record. If anybody does want to go back and watch George's fights, just start at the Matt Hughes era. And George is actually kind of entertaining back then. But I don't think a lot of people really fuck with George like that. You know what I'm saying? And the people that were diehard fans back then, maybe they're still watching, maybe they're still paying, but MMA has kind of lost that boom that it had in Canada when George was the king. It's not quite there no more, and they ain't doing this fight in Canada, so that they don't really got that angle to play on. George is still massive in Montreal and still a big deal in Canada overall, but here in America and like worldwide, and it also doesn't help that he's coming back and fighting Michael Bisping in a fight that, if BJ had won a couple fights and you could like redo that one, or I don't know, if you could hustle up one of his rivals or something, or something, Conor McGregor, maybe he gets a little bit of that old school shine and it creates some magic. But him coming back against Bisping at a higher weight division, it all feels a little weirdy-beardy.
Yeah, here's the thing, and Jesse, you can chime in a second. Sorry for cutting you off or for stopping that, but I think it's and I forgot who fucking said it. Uncle Hank's drinking buddy has a good point. Not good marketing, 100%. Okay, that's just a given on this fight. But I think they realized they booked the wrong main event for Madison Square Garden. You know what I mean? For a New York card, I think you should. I think the GSP fight would have been great in Canada, but in MSG in New York, I don't think so. I think you need to find somebody better for that. That's like kind of it's a Connor thing to headline in New York. You know what I mean? Like the Irish run New York, New York. That shit fucking sold that pay-per-view like a motherfucker. You know what I mean? So to me, it's a lot to do with marketing. But Jesse, what are your thoughts on this?
I agree with Fred. I think GSP has been gone too long, and I think the UFC might have overestimated the value of what GSP brings. I mean, he hasn't been in the spotlight. He's not really that draw that he used to be. There was a time when GSP fights and it was a guaranteed $1 million paper or $1 million sell pay-per-view. but I think we're long past those days. At this point, I think this is more of a novelty fight. You know, it's more of like a freak show. And I think you're right. I think they might be regretting having him as the main event. You know, I think they may have wanted a Conor McGregor, or a Stipe, or something a bit more prestigious in this slot. But this is what they're working with, and I think they're hoping that the Canadian fan base jumps back on the bandwagon with GSP, and I don't think that's going to happen.
Yo, here's another really good point about this, man. It's been 4 years since George competed. Now, don't get me wrong, man. I know that like streaming has been a thing for a long time, but in the last 4 years, I'm sure it's gotten worse and worse. And now the reality is a lot of people just don't buy these events, man. I'm going to fucking let y'all in on something. I'm going to incriminate myself like a motherfucker. But that goddamn Triple G fight when he fought that fucking Canelo, goddamn link on Twitter. Click the link and like a magic thing, popped right up on my fucking computer. So I imagine those things happen with every event. So fuck, that link had been shared like 30,000 times on Twitter when I clicked the fucking link. So ball game no more. George is not gonna sell like that. Don't nobody know who he is. A lot of people that are curious are gonna click that link and they're not gonna buy this motherfucker. And I don't really know how you help prevent that. Like that's just that's all in the game, baby. The music industry, it's the internet. Like that's a real thing for everybody. Because my point, I was just thinking that like George ain't gonna sell good. Who do sell well? Nobody sells well except for Conor. And quite frankly, I don't understand that. Because you can stream the Conor fights too. I think that certain people just get so big that people don't want to fool with their computers and shit, and they just like fuck it. They pony up the dough and they make sure that it's a thing for their house. But for a lot of fucking fights, people probably just stream them shits, and that's why the numbers are shit. Owen, I know we're watching the fight. You know what I'm saying? They said like fucking whatever, man. 100 million people or whatever the fuck streamed that Conor fucking Floyd fight for free.
Yeah. Hey, I watched Canelo Triple G on fucking Instagram. Someone Instagram live that shit, and I'm like,
there you go. There you go.
That or $80, or 60, whatever it was. Yeah, I think
it was 80. It was 80.
80? Yeah. I was like, I'm gonna Instagram that shit. It's cool. And I watched it. It was good. It's cool. But anyway, but you're right. It's a good point with the streaming part of it. It's nearly impossible to stop it. But I remember the UFC had a team that would knock down, like go around and knock those streams out, and they sold to WME, who fired those motherfuckers. So, yeah, that's at least from what I heard. Oh. So it's just kind of whatever. What are you gonna do with that? All right, let's touch on. Oh, someone's asking me about this shit. Okay, all right. So TMZ released a report that Michael Bisping was arrested for assaulting somebody at a gym a few months ago, or in June or something like that. Or June or July, one of those. Let me clear it up. And TMZ has updated the story. That he didn't get arrested, and there wasn't enough like evidence to charge Michael Bisping. So probably nothing happened. But
the guy can, sue him through
of course he can.
Small courts claim or whatever.
Claims court, yeah.
And he's claiming, he's having nightmares and he can't sleep, and his neck's jacked up. Sure, buddy. I think this is a guy who screwed around at the gym. Michael Bisping was like, hey, buddy, get out of the way. And then he's like, then he found out who he was and was like, oh my God, he hurt me. He scared me. I need some money from him. So that's probably what happened.
Can I just take a minute to say I am fucking with Michael Bisping?
Yeah.
I don't know what's going on with Bisping, but he has went into gangster mode at the tail end of his career. He's fucking coming up the press conferences hammered, fucking pushing for the money fight, throwing people beating in gyms, fucking wearing shades indoors. I fucking like the new Bisping. I have never really been a big fan of Michael Bisping throughout his career. He's turned me into fucking dark ages of his career. I fucking fuck with Michael Bisping.
Yeah, what are you gonna do? Doesn't that guy have to prove that he's like that he suffered pain and suffering and whatever the fuck, and he can't sleep at night, whatever? You have to prove that?
Really.
No,
not really. If you're doing like a civil case, I mean, you can just put in the suit and everything. Just having the police report is good enough to at least get a judge to look at it. And then of course, Michael Bisping's probably gonna be like, yeah, you know what, just pay this guy whatever,
settle it.
Yeah, just get out of my hair.
Yeah, it's funny. He didn't say shit till he saw Michael Bisping's Michael Bisping, and he's gonna get some money coming up soon. Real quick on the YouTube comments before we talk about this weekend's card. On your point, Fred, about Joey's on. He's just watching right now. What up, Joey? And he says when you're talking about the GSP fights that he had never seen, whatever. It's right. He actually hit me up on Twitter not too long ago asking me who what he should watch as far as the GSP fights go, and I actually gave him a list. He says Eddie had to give me a list of GSP fights to watch. I gave him a list of fights to watch. One of them being Matt Serra GSP 1. And he was just like, dude, GSP sucks. I'm like, no. Watch the rest of the fights. Don't watch just that one. But yeah, it was pretty funny. Raider says, I dig Bisping. I don't give a fuck. Priya Rose, what up, Rose? And she says, I've liked Bisping. He's hilarious. And Liam says, Bisping is the GOAT based on most strikes. There you go. And then he confirmed what I said about that one company, the people that were, the UFC had to cut those streams out. He goes, an American Financial Magazine wrote about WME IMG firing that company equals dumb move. Very true. Let me ask you this real quick before we talk about this weekend. I don't listen to these conference calls. I can't do it. It bothers the fuck out of me. To do that. I barely watch press conferences unless it's like a fighter that will actually say some shit. That isn't just the usual fight whoever's in front of me shit like that, and I can't wait to get in there and whatever. But there's been an outcry from today's UFC 217 conference call about Joanna Jędrzejczyk kind of using that mental health thing against Rose, saying she's mentally unstable, a bunch of other shit. Meanwhile, Rose stood up for it. Like, if you guys see any of the articles or whatever, like there's a lot of push on Rose. We can say that right now. But here's my question on this: Is Joanna wrong? Like, in your opinion, for using this against Rose?
No. I mean, listen, man, there is no wrong. Oh, who are we, the fucking police? Like, people kill me with this shit, man. Like, they're, is it fucked up? Yeah. And could you use this as a reason to not like a champion? Sure. A reason to root for Rose to win this fight? Absolutely. But did she do something inappropriate or cross a line? I don't think so. No. I mean, this is the motherfucking fight game, guys. And I'm not trying to like come down on the snowflakes or no shit, but everybody, hey man, they're gonna fucking fist fight in a cage at a certain point. Sometimes shit gets bad. The only time shit like that, I would say like you've crossed a line or some shit is somebody's kids. If somebody's got a kid that's fucking handicap or some shit, something said like that, I might be like, okay. But people have talked about people's dead parents and shit. Like, shit gets nasty in this game, man. They're going to fight. They're not going to compete in a polo competition.
Now, here's my thought on this. I think Joanna, probably unintentionally, maybe intentionally, who knows? I think she was just trying to get in Rose's head. I think she just unintentionally sold the shit out of this fight. Because if you see the way that whole interview and that whole conference call is trending on Twitter and social media, a lot of people are really pissed at Joanna now. We're talking like people that were fans of Joanna, and there's a lot of push on Rose. I think a lot of people are going to tune into this fight, and it's going to be a decent part of it is going to be because of this thing today with this whole mental health thing. So I think she might have unintentionally sold the shit out of this fight. You know what I mean?
Well, listen, Eddie, you might be getting a lot. I don't think anybody's going to put down any money that they weren't going to put down.
No.
I do think that the interest of this fight is greater.
Exactly. Yes.
For sure. I my interest is greater now. I was rooting for Rose before, but listen, I've got members of my family that suffer through mental health shit. I've got really people that I'm super close to that suffer through mental health shit. So do I think it was a cunty thing to say or do? You betcha. I was rooting for Rose before, but I definitely want to see Rose beat that ass now. So it raised my interest level, generally speaking. So fucking A.
Yeah. And the Raider says, I listened, it was cutthroat, Joanna, for sure. It was kind of dirty. I thought so too, because I heard the clip and I was like, God, dude, come on, man. I mean, all right,
hey, cool. But that's what we do, man. That's what we're here for, right? Like, listen, stop fucking crying, everybody. If we had got on there and she had said a bunch of boring shit, we'd be fucking putting her on the cross for being boring. Listen, say do you? If that's how she feels, if she feels like you're mentally weak because you had mental problems in your family and shit like that, let's speak the fuck up and say it.
Yeah.
Don't play a friendly game of basketball. Y'all are gonna beat the fuck out of each other for fucking 12 pounds of gold. Let's get after it. Don't hold back.
And Jesse, does something like this, would something like this change your opinion about it? Like whether you're rooting for a fighter or not?
Not necessarily. In this case, I agree with you, Eddie. I think this is more of her trying to sell this fight, and it's just one of those things where, sometimes in your head when you think of something, it sounds a lot better, and then when you say it, and it gets repeated back to you, then you're like, yeah, I probably shouldn't say that. It's like that whole Bisping situation against who was it, Luke Rockhold, where he called him a faggot, and then he's right away like, I shouldn't have said that. It's those spur of the moment type things sometimes where it's you say things that, in like I said, in your head they sound okay, and they don't sound like they're that spin that people put on them, and sometimes that spin is just what people put on them, and that's not your fault sometimes.
Yeah, I hear you on that. All right, it's the fucking Twitter and the internet's blowing up on that shit. So it's interesting for me it's interesting to see anyway. All right, let's talk about this weekend's card. We got UFC Sao Paulo, headlined by Derek Brunson, number 7 ranked Derek Brunson in the middleweights against the returning Dragon Lyoto Machida. Real quick on the times: early 5 pass prelims are at 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. FS2, so the channel nobody has, so stream the shit, I guess. FS2 prelims are 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific time, and the main card on FS1, as long as there's a fucking NASCAR shit on there at that point, is at 10 p.m. Eastern time, 7 p.m. Pacific time, headlined by Brunson against Machida. Co-main event, Damian Maia against Colby Covington, and we'll go off on a couple fights here. But starting here with Fred, you excited about Lyoto returning?
Yeah. I mean, I'm not jumping out of my skin, but be interested to see what he looks like. I'm definitely kind of stoked to see him fight. Not loving the Derek Brunson matchup far as it goes, but I had to come back to after being gone for a while.
You picking Machida?
Hell yeah.
There you go. There you go. What about you, Jesse?
Yeah, like Fred said, I mean, I'm not too hyped about this return, but I mean, yeah, it's good to see Machida back in there, for ratting on himself, and USADA taking an easy W on suspending him. But yeah, until he pops for some other PED, then then I get more disappointed in the Brazilian guys. So yeah, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah, and then the co-main event, the shit talking Colby Covington, and kind of boring, if you ask me. Colby Covington taking on Damian Maia. Jesse, this is a bad matchup for Covington.
Probably. I mean, he could surprise Damian Maia and knock him out, but we haven't seen that yet. And the best quote unquote striker in the division, couldn't put him away, couldn't put combinations together, and couldn't, finish the job. So I don't know what Covington thinks he can do, but I think Maia squishes him pretty easily in 2 rounds.
Damn, I think it's gonna be a backpack. What about you, Fred? You buying Covington calling out Maia?
Nope. I think Maia's gonna dust his ass. Now, of course, what I think is usually wrong as a motherfucker, but in my personal opinion, I can't see Cody's funny ass doing shit to Damian Maia.
I hear that.
You never know. Stranger things have happened. I mean, he might come out and fucking pull that bullshit right on Damian, pull a Brock Lesnar type or something.
Hey, it's MMA after all,
Anything's possible, yeah.
Yeah. All right, then we got Pedro Munoz against Rob Font, and a battle of veterans, Francisco Trinaldo against Jim Miller. This actually should be pretty fun one to watch.
Yeah.
Also, Thiago Santos against Jack Hermanson, and then he's actually a pretty solid fight. These guys throw hands. John Lineker against Marlon Vera.
Oh yeah. I feel sorry for you boys. The Mexicans fucking getting led to the fucking sacrifice altar on that one, but
Well, here's the thing: Marlon Vera is for Ecuadorian, and John Lineker is Brazilian, so we're clear. We're good on that one. And then in the FS2 prelims, Vicente Luque against Nico Price, which should be a fun one. Cara Zapato, Antonio Carlos Jr. taking on Jack Marshman.
Shoeface.
Hakern Diaz against Jared Gordon. Elizeu Zaleski dos Santos against Max Griffin. Max Griffin, why do I remember that name? Max Griffin was actually, he's a big dude. He's like a big 170 guy, I think. I think that's why I remember him, but I don't know if I remember him being good. And then the early 5-pass prelims, Benson, Figueiredo, goddamn, everyone's
you don't have to pronounce those names. It's all right. It's okay. Nobody fucking knows them. Believe me. Yeah. Nobody
taking on Jared Brooks, who calls himself the Monkey God. Okay. And then Marcelo Goma against Christian Colombo in a heavyweight fight. So that's this weekend again. That's UFC 5-pass prelims are 7 p.m. Eastern time, 4 p.m. Pacific time. FS2 prelims 8 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Pacific, and FS1 main card 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific time. And it's going to be for that one. Do a quick catch up on headlines and on the YouTube comments. YouTube, we got apparently John Smith thinks that Lyoto is going to get smashed. Yeah. Okay. Man, I can see it. He's been gone for a while.
Yeah. I mean, you never know. For sure. We don't know what the fuck Lyoto's going to look like, but
yeah. And then Pre-Rose says Colby can only win by decision, but all those takedowns give Maya so many submission chances. Look, man, I tell you what, Colby Covington better be training some defending triangles and shit and arm bars, because Damian Maya's takes Damian Maya down off his back, he can get subbed.
Colby, I called that fool Cody. I knew that wasn't that motherfucker's name.
Colby. It says so much about that dude now. Anyway, yeah. Checking the headlines, looking like there's nothing new. Oh yeah, Pech Correa out of her upcoming fight. Turns out she jacked her eye up. She had to go get emergency surgery. So if you're a Pech Correa fan, you just missed out. That's kind of
Do those things actually exist?
What?
Pech Correa fans?
They were all cheering for Ronda the last.
Like the fucking Bigfoots.
Right? It's kind of weird. It's almost like I don't know. It's all weird. All right. Anything else you guys want to throw out here before we head out?
I do. But Fred, if you've got something, because I know you're probably gonna crap on me after this.
So.
Let's see what you got.
Yeah.
All right. So I know for a more in-depth explanation on what I'm about to say, and I would be remiss if I didn't say this on the show today. Go check out Eddie's show with Ash. Which one was it? Was it the heel hook, the last one where you guys talked about the Twitter situation there, Eddie?
Yeah, that was the last one.
That was the last one, the heel hook show. Okay, go there, because I got to give Ash some props. He had a very eloquent way of handling the situation in the best way possible. Now, for me, I always talk about mental health and how it's important to reach out and be the better person in the universe, right? So I would be remiss and I would hate myself if I didn't at least put this out there to everybody. Everybody that saw that Twitter, that whole thing that happened, give that guy some positive reinforcement, some positive, stuff in his life. Because obviously he may be going through some stuff, man. He may need it. More than any of us, he may need it. So if you guys can put some positive outreach towards that guy, number one. And number two, if anybody really knows him very well, may know what's going on with him, even if you don't know exactly what's going on, but you have a way to communicate with him, please reach out to him and call this number, 1-800-203-2273. That's the Crisis Response Network. All right. That will cover a lot of mental health problems, just all kinds of, things like that. We've talked about this before, how one little thing, a positive thing in someone's life could be all the difference. So I feel that since I advocate mental health so much, and if I didn't take the time to say that, I'd kind of be a hypocrite. So that's, like Eddie said, that'll be the last time we ever talk about that situation. So at least let's put some good out there.
Yeah, definitely. Put out some positive vibes in the universe, ladies and gentlemen, because that will come back to you in a positive manner. Do your thing. All right. Anything else there, Fred? We're good.
Eat more pussy.
Goddamn right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, that's going to do it for us tonight. Appreciate you guys tuning in. Shout out to Priya Rose, John Smith, Liam Hughes. Oh, man. Raider was on here. What up? Joey Tremendous. What's going on, man? Our buddy Jeremiah from the Hardcore MMA show. That dude gets a lot of like guest fighters too on that show. So you guys
He's a beast with it. He gets a lot of great fighters.
Yeah, and so make sure it's a hardcore MMA show. Make sure you YouTube that shit and subscribe. Uncle Hank's Drinking Buddy was good, man. Appreciate you coming on here. Anybody and everybody, John Smith, everyone that tuned in today, appreciate a huge shout out to Combate America's Brenda Enriquez. Graceful with her time, really appreciate her coming on. It's a little later in Utah, so it's a so she definitely went out of her way to give us time, so really appreciate it, and we thank her a lot. Make sure you find her on Instagram and YouTube and Twitter and Facebook. You can follow Kirby, and all the Twitters are in here. Kirby's at Kirby_MMA. Jesse is at Sp11983. I'm at Elon31. The show and the page is on Keyboard MMA. And just to clear it up, yes, we have made the transition completely to the Keyboard Warriors. So the website is keyboardwarriorsmma.com. That's where you get all our YouTube videos on there. Obviously, if you're on here, highly likely there's a good chance you went to Keyboard MMA Warrior or Keyboard Warriors MMA.live to come to the show. And Facebook's the same name, and iTunes is the same name. If you're already subscribed on iTunes, you're good, solid. You don't have to do anything. Otherwise, if you're not, search up Keyboard Warriors MMA, and you can subscribe to us and get our shows automatically onto your iTunes. So we appreciate all of you guys that do that and listen and pay attention. Huge shout out to SpicesPros.com. Shout out to repthewarriors.com. Get yourself some gear, get some good shit. For myself, Fred Kirby, Jesse Rubacava, the entire crowd, or the entire Keyboard Warriors MMA team. I was about to say Crossman. Keyboard Warriors MMA team. Appreciate you guys coming on. We'll shoot the shit with you guys this weekend during the card. And good night, Wilshire.
Peace.